In today's video, we're going to do a quick comparison between three Micro Four Thirds cameras, the GH5S, the GH5 Mark II, and the GH6. If you shoot handheld, then the GH6 is the best choice. It has amazing in-body image stabilization, or IBIS, followed very closely by the GH5 Mark II, which is a step above the original GH5. When it comes to the GH5S, this doesn't have any in-body image stabilization, which could be a deal breaker for a lot of people. This is a much older camera, being released in 2018, but there's a reason why I just purchased two of these. I think the image quality is fantastic, so I'm keen to see just how they compare. At the expense of no IBIS, this gives you a wider field of view and a dual native ISO sensor, allowing you to get better low light performance, or at least that's what we've been told. So we're going to compare all of these and see what kind of results we get. Before we get into it, just know this video is not sponsored. If you can, please leave a thumbs up if it's helpful or useful, or if this helped you decide on any one of these cameras. I'll link them down below. Here we go. Let's kick things off by shooting with the oldest camera first. So this is the GH5S, shooting with the 10 to 25mm Leica lens. All of the settings throughout the camera will be identical. So the natural picture profile, the same ISO settings. I'm going to be using the same white balance that I've set manually to 5100 Kelvin, shooting in 4K, 25 frames per second, 10 bits. So that's what you're looking at right now on the GH5S. And now you're looking at the Panasonic GH5 Mark II, which gives us that standard 2.0 times crop. So this will look a little bit more punched in than the GH5S, but it will also look different in terms of its color science, sharpness, and overall look. So I'll put it side by side up so you can see the difference. This is with exactly the same settings. I've got them all set up identically for this particular test. So let us know which one you like the best out of these two. Let's try the GH6. And now looking at the Panasonic GH6, which gives us the same field of view as the GH5 Mark II, so that regular 2 times crop. Now, whether or not you can see a massive difference between this and the GH5 Mark II in a studio situation, that's up to you. Now, just remember, all of these cameras can be heavily tweaked when it comes to the highlights, the shadows, the sharpness. You can reduce the sharpness, add more if you so choose. So all of that stuff can be completely customized inside each of these cameras. So this is just a bog standard test to show you the difference in the framing, the color science, the sharpness, and the overall look using exactly the same lens. Let's do a low light test at ISO 3200 starting on the GH6. So we'll work our way backwards towards the GH5 Mark II. Now, all of my studio lamps are off except for one light on the floor down here. That's it. There's no other lights on in the room except for my studio monitor behind the camera, but it's far enough away that it's probably not lighting up my face much. I'm at ISO 3200. The white balance will now be set to 3100 Kelvin. This is the GH6. Take note of any noise in the background, all that kind of stuff. This is with dynamic range boost off. Now, that's best used in Vlog. You can also use it in the standard picture profiles, but we're just going to start in the standard mode. Let's switch it up. And now you're looking at the GH6 with dynamic range boost enabled. Now, it's still at ISO 3200 in the natural picture profile. For best results, use this with the Vlog profile. It does give you a little bit of extra information in the highlights, but you can also use this on the standard picture profiles, but I want to see if it made any difference in a low lit situation. And now you're looking at the GH5 Mark II with exactly the same settings. So the natural picture profile, the ISO is set to 3200, and I've got the white balance set to 3600. Hopefully I got those numbers right before, but the white balance will be 3600 on each of these cameras. This is the GH5 Mark II up against, on one of these sides here, the GH6. So can you see a massive difference between the image quality and noise floor when it comes to a low light test like this? Let us know in the comments whether or not there's a huge difference. I may actually do a quick zoom in on screen so you can see if there's a massive difference in the overall noise floor. And now we're over to the GH5S. The S stands for sensitivity, allowing it to be a better low light camera than all of the other Micro Four Thirds cameras that were out at that time. This also holds up considerably well against my Sony full frame cameras up to about ISO 6400. The noise floor is extremely low. So we're at ISO 3200 with the same white balance as before, and odds are this is going to look a lot cleaner than the GH5 Mark II and GH6, and I'll put some side-by-sides on screen so you can get a good sense of what's going on. What I'll do now, I'll also zoom in a little bit on each of them so you can get a good sense of the noise floor difference between each of these cameras, and I'll leave some annotations on screen so you know exactly which one is which. It's really interesting to put an older camera that had this dual native ISO sensor technology up against some of these newer cameras that have more elaborate codecs and features, but does it have the same sort of low light performance? I guess we'll find out. Let us know in the comments section which one you prefer and why. Thanks again for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, click the bell. I'll catch you soon. See ya.